Hey everybody, welcome back to Sunday here at the World Championships for Flesh and Blood. I'm Tannen Grace, that's Brian Gottlieb, and we are ready to move on here in some more of these top 8 matches. Take a look at this bracket and see where we're at.
Yeah, an explosive start to the tournament. That incredible Icelander mirror, expertly navigated by the one, the only Michael Hamilton. And it's going to be really, really hard at this point to convince me that anyone else in this tournament is the favorite to win other than Michael Hamilton.
I'm going to take it a step further, Brian.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and say he's the best player in the world. I'm ready to call it.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm not calling that yet. I would love to see a little icing on the cake. But he gets that W, 100%. I'm signing up for that. But has a very, very tough matchup in the next round. Going to be taking on Peitung Lau, who we saw play extremely well up into Oldham. Generally considered a tough matchup for Briar. Peitung Lau navigated expertly. And look, all the players who have reached this point in the tournament, these are killer flesh and blood players. Absolutely anyone can take this down. But Michael Hamilton maybe a slight favorite at this point.
Yeah, we'll see if LPT can take that one. But we're going to be looking at that Phi mirror, the 2 versus 7. And if we're talking about Phi, and we're not talking about Doa, we're talking about Daniel Rutkowski in this tournament, and it seems like for a couple months now, he's just been championing this so well.
Look at that competitive event record.
Is that good?
59-15. That is preposterous. And I will tell you, playing against Daniel Rutkowski, none of that is a mirage. This dude is a killer, especially on this hero.
I think it's preposterous 15 people beat him during this span.
Fair enough. Fair enough. No, absolutely incredible player, and has been sort of champion Phi, and also refining this deck list. Of course, had that heartbreaking second place over at U.S. Nationals after pacing the field all day long. Again, a dominant performance here throughout the Swiss rounds, looking to maybe right some past wrongs and go ahead and get that title. And, I hate getting ahead of myself, Tannen, but I think everyone saw this bracket and started thinking, there's potential for U.S. Nationals rematch here, and that Fire and Ice showdown may be in the cards, but you got to win these matches first, and there's going to be a very tough opponent across from Daniel Rutkowski.
Yeah, I'm trying not to get ahead of myself as well. I was actually just talking to someone about this off camera. This is kind of a Michael Fang, Tark Patel thing that we had last year where they kept meeting each other again, and, calling finals into nationals, and now we're going even a step further with nationals into worlds. So possible cool headline that we could have, but they've got a tall order in front of them here. They've got to win their matches to get to that final. Let's take a look at Daniel's deck list here that we've been seeing him just expertly navigate all weekend long. And, it's going to have what you think in there. There's a lot of red cards.
Yeah, a lot of red cards. Some interesting additions here. Things like that one of Winds of Eternity, just getting an extra block 3 into the mix. And what I really want to focus on with Daniel's list is explosive potential. This deck very much has the ability to put up absurd numbers of damage, and all Phi lists do. That is true. But when we get over to Rob Caton's list, you're going to see a little bit more of a measured approach, and I think what I really want to pay attention to as we go through this matchup are those Art of War turns. Art of War turns scary no matter who the Phi is, but I want to point to things like 3 Phoenix Flame, 3 Flame Call Awakening, 2 Rise from the Ashes. That means that when Daniel Rutkowski goes off, he can go off bigger than your average Phi deck, and we're going to have to watch and see if he can get off one of those monster Art of War turns here.
I think you just nailed this on the head. For me, the only thing that I'm thinking at besides that is what mask are we going to see from these opponents in this game, because I've done a little bit of talking with them, and there might be a little difference of opinion on the mask in this match, and hopefully we'll get to see that play out. Maybe we can figure out which one is right and which one is wrong. But let's hear it straight from the player's mouth. We've got an interview with Daniel Rutkowski. Here with another top 8 competitor, Daniel Rutkowski. Daniel, you've been on fire these last couple of tournaments. Great run at Nationals. Now you're in the top 8 of Worlds. Has it sunk in yet?
Yeah, no, for sure. It sunk in a couple of rounds ago because I was locked after round 14, I think.
Yeah,
so now I'm kind of just really tired. Already kind of celebrated and had all those feelings. Yep.
All right, now I noticed that in the top 8 in the first round, you're going to be playing a Phi mirror. How are you feeling about that matchup?
I feel really good. Obviously, well practiced on 5 and playing it for quite a few events. I think our list is very strong in the mirror. I'm excited to see my opponent's deck list so I can kind of get a better feeling of how the matchup will go, but definitely looking forward to it.
Now, are your team going to go back in the bunker and make sure you get everything right, or are you just going to go to sleep?
Yeah, 100%. We're going to build every deck I'm playing against tonight. I'm going to play games tonight. I'm going to play games while waiting for my matches tomorrow. Going to be prepared.
Well, good. I hope you are prepared. I hope you make a deep run tomorrow. Get yourself some sleep, and good luck.
Thank you.
great words from Daniel there. We'll have to see if some of that's going to play out in his matches here in this top 8. And look, we talked about how impressive Michael Hamilton was and how I think that he might be the best player in the world. The last thing I'm going to say about Daniel Rutkowski is he has been the most impressive player in the world the last 2 tournaments that we've done with Nationals and this. What he's done in the Swiss rounds of these tournaments, I don't know if we're going to see that anytime soon.
Fair enough, but I don't want to sleep on Rob Caton either.
Absolutely.
A very impressive performance. Our last undefeated player in the field as we move through these rounds. And I talked to Rob. Look, you see a less robust competitive event record there, 12-9. This is sort of Rob's first big shot, but there were some nerves. But at the same time, speaking to Rob, I felt like he settled into his position very well, got very comfortable as the day went on, and didn't really seem struck by the big lights, the big stage, just wanted to do his best. And I have seen in his play absolutely has the potential to elevate himself into one of these top tier players. Just has to now do the work, get it done. And we'll see if that sort of new stage, being down there in the feature match area with a crowd gathered around, getting loud, getting anxious, I want to watch carefully to see if that influences Rob's play. Thus far has done a great job mitigating those nerves, but you have to do it throughout the entire tournament.
I don't think I can say enough about Rob. You hit most of it there that I would possibly say myself. The fact that I think he became one of my new favorite players here this weekend. Very soft-spoken, but in a very polite way.
Yep.
But you could tell there's a mind behind this game. You could tell that he's really good and that there's a reason why he's here in this top 8. He's very good, absolute sweetheart, and just a great player and very fierce competitor on the table. So it's the kind of guy I wouldn't want to see sitting across the
I also don't want to sell him short. He's got a calling top 8 in New Jersey, an extremely tough field, very nice finish at PT Lille, finishing 34th, and number 65 in the world in constructed.
That's going to go up a little bit, by the way.
That's not a slouch player. That's a really, really strong player. So I'm very curious to see if Rob is going to go ahead and sort of make his mark on the flesh and blood scene. Already has, honestly, this weekend, but can he really stamp it home authoritatively?
Yeah, the UK has got to be just bursting with pride. I know they said they've been staying up really late trying to watch these games. He's been texting friends back home.
Yeah, and of course, a UK champion of the last Pro Tour, looking to go back-to-back for that nation. So
absolutely. That would be huge for them. That's a big feather in their cap if they can get that. Let's take a look at that deck list that's going to be going up for Rob Caton, if he's going to be able to win this mirror match.
As I mentioned, a little bit less explosive potentially, instead relying on things like take the tempo and that double strike too. And you mentioned the mask, Tannen. When I see that double strike, it makes me think Rob may want to lean in more to Mask of Momentum and maybe Mask of the Pouncing Lynx showing up on the other side. But there's so much debate. And when I spoke to Matt Rogers was thinking this was a double Mask of Momentum showdown. So it's going to be really interesting to see where these players fall on that.
I'm actually going to go in the other end. I think it's going to be Mask of Momentum for Rob, and I think it's going to be Mask of the Pouncing Lynx for Rutkowski. I'm going that. I think with the way the decks are built, maybe
I agree with you, Tannen. I agree. Yeah, I think there's a good chance that double strike is going to go ahead and power up that Mask of Momentum.
Matt Rogers, almost never wrong. Let's get that right. He's definitely way better and smarter at the game than I am, but I'm going to go with a different take here.
Yeah, so we'll see how that plays out as we head down to our feature match area in just a few moments.
Yeah, but we're going to have a short interview with Rob Caton right before that.
Your top 8 competitor, Rob Caton. Make sure I get that right. We've had it every which way in the booth this weekend, but I don't think you care because you're a top 8 competitor here at Worlds. Has it sunk in yet?
I think it will tonight, especially when I pay for dinner. Yeah.
Would you pay for dinner, is what you said?
Yeah, I've said that, but we're in California, so I don't know how bad that's going to be. But yeah, I've texted all my friends who are, trying to stay awake, and they're all thrilled for me. So yeah, it's going to sink in soon.
Yeah. All right. I got to ask this. Are you going to be one of the guys like straight to bed after this, or are you going to build all the decks, get some more testing in?
Oh, I'm a straight to bed sort of guy. I'm super boring. I'm going out for dinner, and then I want to get as much sleep as I can. I'm still quite jet lagged, so I've been keep waking up at like 4 a.m. and thinking it's 9 a.m. So yeah, straight to bed. But I'm going to be pretty chill about it, to be honest. Like I've done my job, and now the rest is all gravy on top. So.
Absolutely, it's going to be a lot of gravy, hopefully, on top for you. How are you feeling about your first round matchup?
The Fine Mirror, I haven't seen his list yet, which I understand that we're going to get. I don't particularly like that he can see that I'm playing like ancestral empowerment, so like yes, they know that I've got some tricks and stuff, but I do feel favoured. I've played a lot of Fi, so I do feel good about it, but he's a good player as well, so yeah.
Well, Rob, best of luck the rest of the weekend.
Thank you very much.
straight from the horse's mouth. Rob Caton telling us what he thinks is going to happen in this matchup, and it's hard not to root for him here. You know, it's like I'm a big fan of both these players. Obviously, Rutkowski's in America. We've been, you know, I've been kind of talking about this all weekend long. It's nice to see the Americans finally show up. You heard me. I'm gonna give credit when it's due and credit when it's not. And they have not shown up to these Pro Tours, but they really showed up here this weekend. But the UK has really showed up at the Pro Tour so far, and they're trying to add that World Championship. So it sounds like the players are almost ready. We're going to head down to that feature match in just a second. Do you have any predictions for this match, besides that it's going to be fast?
It's going to be fast. It's going to be furious. It just feels like Dan Rutkowski is a man of destiny right now. Not to take anything away from Rob. You know, not only a great player, a generous one, likes to take his friends out to feast and celebration whenever he does well. Did so over in New Jersey. Did so last night.
My invite.
I know I didn't get an invite either. I don't know how I missed that one. But
Rob, if you're watching this back,
I know his friends are rooting for, you know, a run back tonight. I am going to go with Dan in this matchup, though. But we play the games for a reason. Let's see what's happening.
All I'm saying is whoever wins tonight better take all of us out to dinner.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
we
Don't
can just
forget
spend
about
the
your
whole
casters.
We can spend the whole 100K
Yeah.
tonight. You know, they still get the Pro Tour card.
down.
But I think the players are about ready. Checking in with it. It does sound like they're ready, so we're going to head on down to that feature match and get this 5 mirror started.
So we have the wrong graphic. That is not Fuad Omar taking on Christopher Iaali.
We're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
We'll see that match in just a moment. Don't worry. But what we are going to see are our buddies Daniel Rutkowski, Rob Caton taking on each other, and we're going to head down in just a moment. All right, Tannen, you did it to me. I'm going to do it to you. Who you got? Who's taking down this match?
It's so hard to bet against Rutkowski with just the absolute blitz that he's been on in the last few matches. Now, look, all right, there we go. We've got the players. They're ready, saved by the bell. I don't have to make any too bold of predictions here. And check out those masks.
Yep, mask swap. We do see Mask of Momentum on Rob's side. We see Mask of the Pouncing Lynx on Daniel Rutkowski's side. And I get it. I think Daniel has that explosive potential. Salt the Wound in the list as well. That's really a big differential point where you want to be able to find that on demand. But Rob wants to reliably trigger that Mask of Momentum, get double strikes going, make those chain links nice and wide, and then go ahead and ride that card advantage to victory.
You know, I think at home, a lot of people, I don't know if they appreciate how difficult it could be to sit in this booth and, you know, contain ourselves with how much excitement we have during this match. But it's also very hard when we have Matt Rogers sitting next to us, opening up candy and trying to offer it to us.
Tim Tams. He knows of my affinity for Tim Tams. I literally went to New Zealand and, well, no, I just want Tim Tams. I just ate nothing but Tim Tams for a month, and now I'm missing out on them. Very cruel. I do get to cast this incredible match, though. Brand with Cinderclaw.
We'll have to persevere.
Yeah, coming down from Daniel Rutkowski.
That looks like it's going to be a good start from Daniel Rutkowski with one of the head jabs, so a million different varieties that we've got in these games. It looks like it's going to be followed up by a Searing Ember Blade.
Yeah, typical 5 things. We saw a lot of this going on in the limited rounds as well. Now in these classic constructed rounds, you're going to see the real power of 5. Things get pushed even further. Of course, if you follow Daniel Rutkowski's matches recently, very, very adept at piloting this hero. Finds damage that I think few other players on the planet are able to find.
Absolutely.
Phoenix Flame follow-up here.
Yeah, if you want to learn how to play Fi at a high level, you couldn't do better than watching these two players, and you've got a lot to watch from them over this weekend. If you watch U.S. Nationals, you get a lot of Daniel Rutkowski as well. I know Gigi Doa is on the edge of his seat anytime these players are playing because he loves to watch good Ninja play, and boy, are you going to get it this round. So this Phoenix Flame.
Ninja aficionado, Doa, has been furiously scribbling notes all weekend, looking to level up his Ninja game.
He leveled up his Ninja game in a multitude of ways. He picked up a Marvel Katsu.
That's a good way to do it. As far as I'm concerned, that's as leveled up as your Ninja game can get.
Das Wanderer is the one he picked up. I'm very jealous, very jealous.
If you got the bling, you're already winning. That all you got coming down from Rob Caton, critically going to be able to draw a card when this chain closes. For the time being, they'll Soul Bead Strike. Going to round this out, and a little bit of damage headed Rob's way. Critically, Daniel Rutkowski able to go second this matchup. Look, the advantage isn't as pronounced as it may be in limited, but still, it's a nice position to be in to go second.
Yeah, absolutely. That Tiger Strike Suko going to come in and get a little bit of extra damage here. But speaking of extra, that's a 5-card hand from Rob Caton.
Love
let's
to
see.
see it on Rob's part.
Yeah, that's really good for him here, too, because he's a little bit behind on life total like you were talking about. Is this a way that he can kind of get back into this game and get some of that tempo back?
Oh, absolutely. You're going to see the tempo swing back and forth, maybe on the back of take the tempo, in fact, as these players lob. Haymaker doesn't seem quite right. That doesn't seem like the right term.
Jabs.
Yeah, a lot of jabs. They just a flurry of jabs flying across
Body
the
blow,
arena.
body blow, jab, jab.
Yep.
Head jab even.
Maybe a head jab.
There's quite a few of them in this matchup.
Yeah, virtual head jabs. Of course, we're going to do this trick we've seen so many times from these Fies. Belittle goes and finds the blue minnowism. Now Fi going to have all the resources needed to go ahead and fuel potentially explosive turn. We do see that mounting anger. Looks like a blue mounting anger ready to go.
So important for these decks, everybody at home. Belittle, if you reveal a card to it that's got the the less base power than 3, you can search your deck for a card named Minnowism. Now, most of the decks play about a couple of the blue Minnowism and one of the red. So if they need something to pump up their next attack, they can go get the red Minnowism. But more often than not, you're going to see the blue Minnowism get added to hand for this reason. What it's going to do is it's going to allow Rob to pay for everything that he's going to do in this turn. Generally the 3 resources allow you to get a Phoenix Flame plus an attack for Searing Emberblade, or play multiple cards from your hand that cost 1, because you've got cards like Belittle and a few other attacks that actually do cost you something, unlike all those head jabs that we were talking about. And it just makes your deck that much more consistent. You've got this thing that you can go get out of your deck to make sure you have enough resources to play through your turn.
Historically, Minnowism doing a great job at playing both sides, sort of amping up damage and providing resources. In these ninja decks, though, it's all resources all the time, Caton. That's all they care about is being able to power up that Searing Emberblade. You really don't see the red Minnowism from them as much as we used to when we were looking at things. Yeah, like Viscerai. It's all about producing resources.
Really big in Briar as well to get that condition for the Rosetta Thorn. It's this is the easiest way to make Rosetta Thorn good in Briar or anything that could use that weapon, which, by the way, we've kind of been talking about it a little bit today. This might be the last time we get to play with that weapon.
Yeah, got to start talking about that. We are on the cusp of a living legend for Briar. Of course, 2 Briar players still remaining in this tournament. Should either one win, both Briar and Rosetta Thorn would head to living legend status, but still a long way to go until we're talking about that. Right now, it's time for Mounting Anger.
And we've got a trigger here, revealing a Brand with Cinder Claw. That's going to have an extra attack here this turn. A lot of the Fi cards, very interchangeable, but they do have small little things in the text that matter here. And with that Mounting Anger hit, it's going to let this Brand with Cinder Claw attack for 4 here. And it's a really, really important one here because this gets a really good break point.
Yeah, moving to 4 is a big deal. It's now unblockable by a 1-card block. Looks like Daniel Rutkowski not super interested in the blocking game these days anyway. There is that Mask of Momentum trigger. Going to go ahead, pull that is Rob. Does he find a banger off the top?
I'll say this. He found the most apt card to draw on that. Take the Tempo came off the top because that's what he is doing this turn.
Yeah, great time for that to show up with all of these resources readily available. I think this chain is getting particularly wide.
We're going to move it over. We're going to make more room. That's something you never want to see when you're on the other side. When your opponent's like, hold on, I got to make more room because I'm playing about 7 more. Hold on, 7 more cards are coming. Make a little room.
Absolutely a scary thing. There's the Searing Emberblade activation coming in for 3. Of course, Phoenix Flame still at the ready. We expect that to contribute to this combat at some point. I believe there's another Mounting Anger in hand, another Take the Tempo. So Rob really getting aggressive in these early turns.
Love seeing the back and forth from these guys, too. A lot of smiles on their face. I know Daniel is saying he's got a lot of energy today, a lot of adrenaline going through his body, so he's very much working on centering himself for this game and making sure that his breathing was okay. I've got to assume the other players are very similar as well. I know that I would be hyperventilating in this spot, playing for this much money under these kind of lights.
There's that Mounting Anger. It's going to be blocked efficiently by the Flame Scale Furnace. You can understand not wanting to see that on-hit trigger go off again. So it's time for the Phoenix Flame. This one getting buffed by Tiger Stripe Shuko. And then a fine chain closer here from Rob Caton. It's Take the Tempo. 5 damage headed towards Daniel Rutkowski. Got to get that trigger as well critically. Seeing if that can buff up the next turn. Engulfing Flame Wave, I believe, is the pull off the top. He's going to have access to a 5-card hand.
Such a good turn from Rob here, setting up a good turn as well. I mean, this is what he needed to get back into this, right? I mean, look at that life total. Daniel Rutkowski down to 19 here. We're going back over. We joked about this. Don't blink, you might miss it, and this is why.
Look, but Daniel didn't take all that damage without a plan. As we mentioned, Daniel's deck, perhaps with larger explosive potential. Here is that Belittle, going to be used to go ahead and fuel up this turn. Time for some searching. We're going to find the blue Minnowism. 3 more resources added to Daniel Rutkowski's hand.
Also, Spreading Flames is being revealed here as well. A card very good at going wide and dealing a lot of extra damage here. So
again, very much in line with that idea that Daniel, when he has his ceiling turns, that ceiling is going to be just a little bit higher than Rob's ceiling turn.
Are you a little worried if you're Rob that this might be
Absolutely.
the Mask of the Pouncing Link's turn?
Absolutely. You have to be afraid, just given the choices by Dan to take the vast majority of that damage on the last turn, you have to be thinking, why? Why is my opponent so comfortable?
And I love your description earlier with like the boxing reference, because this is a lot like a boxing match. You know, we see heavyweight fights where, you know, it's about the one big blow getting landed, and that's like Oldham versus Oldham. You know, they're trying to get that big uppercut in. But you ever seen lightweights fight, and it's just a flurry of really quick punches back and forth and not a lot of blocking going on? That's exactly what's going on here. And you see Rob kind of rubbing his hands together, getting warmed up because he knows the heat's coming this turn.
Wants to know what the salvo is going to be from Daniel Rutkowski. As we said, Blue Minnowism at the ready, could go ahead, fire off the Searing Emberblade. We expect Phoenix Flame to contribute at some point. So many options here. And if you're Daniel, goal number 1, maximize the output. Spreading Flames, looks like it's going to be the first step in that goal.
Yeah, that's a really good one at making sure that you spread this damage out and do as much as possible on this combat chain. You can see that your Draconic attacks that are going to have +1, while they have less than the number of Draconic attacks on the chain. So the wider this gets, they're going to get pumped.
Yeah, we expect this to start being pretty effective, honestly. And it is time for Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. Going to go ahead and empower this turn is Daniel Rutkowski. And it's going to be Lava Burst grabbed. It's essentially almost always Lava Burst or Assault or Wound. This makes that Mask of the Pouncing Lynx worth a virtual 5 or 6 damage. One of the strongest pieces of equipment in our game right now.
Oh, absolutely. I remember when I saw this thing get printed, I was super excited about it for Ninja players because you can see, you have to go get an attack action card with 2 or less power.
Psych!
But we all know they never stay at 2. Like,
They do
Lava
not.
Burst printed has 2, but when's the last time you attacked for 2 with a Lava Burst? It's been a while.
No, it doesn't happen all that often. Lava Burst far more routinely coming in for 5. Salt the Wound also very much falling in that critical spot. So Daniel going to be without that mask for the rest of the game, but it's done its job. It's tried to push this game rapidly towards its conclusion. Next step, Searing Emberblade coming in. That's going to be paid for by that Blue Minnowism we saw earlier in the turn.
Importantly, adding another Draconic Link to the chain as well. It's going to help pump up that stuff for Spreading Flames if there's any more attacks after this. All right, here comes that Lava Burst. Looks like we're going to Rupture. Rob down to 22 here, head in hand. He's like, all right, give me the bill. This looks like it's going to be a big one. Luckily, all these players in the top 8 are going to have a little extra cash in their pocket this weekend. They can pay for some pretty big bills.
Yeah.
Again, Brian and I have no dinner plans.
We'll see about that after Rob pays for our dinner.
Yeah.
But Lava Burst being pumped up to 6 here. Huge threat on Rob. You see no blocks again from Rob. And look, once you've gotten to this point, once you've committed to the idea that I am just taking this damage, you really have to follow through with that, and all you're hoping is, please don't kill me, please don't kill me. Unlikely that's going to happen here, but certainly more damage to be done. It is time for that Phoenix Flame. That's going to be buffed by the Spreading Flames and the Tiger Stripe Shuko. So one of the larger Phoenix Flames we've seen in a while. 3 damage headed towards Rob. Rob perhaps falling to a precarious 13 should this go unblocked. And then you see still 2 cards left in Daniel Rutkowski's
There's
hand.
more coming, yeah.
Absolutely.
There's another course coming in behind this. We're not even done with dinner yet. We're not even done with dessert yet. And I got to say, this matchup, it kind of feels almost like a blitz game to me, or limited because of how incentivized you are to use your equipment so quickly in this matchup. Because, I mean, honestly, you're just going to die pretty fast. So you don't want to die with equipment left over.
Yeah, no blocks here. Rob falls to 13. Looking to have his own large clock back, but here is a mounting anger for 5, and this combat chain getting very out of control. Still a card left in hand for Daniel Rutkowski.
And Rob is getting threatened to put down in single digits.
Yeah, and he's got to
already.
think about this one because this is cumulative, right? If it goes ahead and banishes another Draconic card, it's actually adding an extra damage. So it's a very efficient block for Rob to make. If you go ahead and prevent this mounting anger, then you're not going to deal with its buff. It's kind of worth 2 blocks for 1 in a lot of ways. So Rob has made it this far without scumming to blocking. Does he have the resolve to one more time say no blocks and try and go into his own turn and produce enough threat?
That's exactly what Rob is trying to figure out here. You can see doing the math, really trying to figure it out, because the problem is, like, yeah, he can go down a single digit to keep all his cards here, but if you go too low and don't present a good enough turn on the way back, Daniel can do the same thing and then try to kill
I'm
you.
going to say something terrifying to you right now, Tannen. What if that's assault the wound in hand?
Oh, I don't know if Rob can get out of this.
That's
assault the
a
wound in his
really
hand.
scary possibility.
And maybe he's thinking along those lines.
There's other good possibilities as well. It doesn't have to be Salt and Wounds for this output to be absolutely massive. It is going to be Mounting Anger. It's going to be Banishing Lava Burst,
Oh,
and that is
no.
another extremely strong option here. Huge buff to this Lava Burst, +1 from the Spreading Flames, +1 there. And that's going to represent 7. Is Rob going to fall to 1 here and sort of find himself vulnerable to that Phoenix Flame lock we talk about so often?
Yeah, that's the scary spot. You don't want to be in too low of a life total where you have to start blocking Phoenix Flames, but this is the nightmare scenario for Rob, and here we go. He's going to start bringing out some of the equipment to soak some of this up. What a turn from Daniel Rutkowski. I'm going to have to go back and watch this again and see how much damage exactly outputted this turn, because this number is large.
Massive damage, a huge Phi chain link showing what this hero is capable of. Rob just going to do a small block with the Flame Scale Furnace, basically saying, I want to threaten you on my next turn. I want to put you at a vulnerable life total. Ideally, 1-ish is what I'm looking for. I don't think Rob has any visions of killing Daniel this turn. It would have to draw almost perfectly. But if you can go ahead and threaten Daniel's life total, then you can go ahead, maybe use that equipment, use that extra block from the Mask of Momentum to survive that next turn and get one more shot at presenting lethal. Snatch, a card that also incentivizes those type of decisions. And that tells me it's time for Snapdragon Scalers, no doubt.
Yeah, no natural go again on Snatcher, but again, I think I've said this weekend. The card that I think Snapdragon Scalers is probably targeted more than any other card in the history of the game. Snatch right here. Really good one to start off the turn because this puts Daniel in a tough spot to decide if he wants to block or
Well,
not.
it gives Rob a lot of options. Like, should you hit something like an Art of War off the Snatch, then you could find yourself with potentially lethal output very quickly.
Absolutely. So you're seeing Daniel take a moment here. Now he's the one doing the creative accounting. He's got to figure out, can I afford to block this? Because that's the other thing, too, is if he can afford to block this, he's got to be able to keep cards in his hand to come back as well. But you see some of that armor sitting over there might possibly come out. If there's a block going on, that can kind of make it towards only one card from your hand.
Yeah, very careful decision here from Rob.
Yeah, this game, it's so close. His life totals change so drastically every turn. And whenever someone gets to this low of a life total, too, I feel like the game generally slows down a little bit because you're so much more incentivized to block
look,
now.
this looks like a lot of just fireballing each other back and forth, doing as much damage as possible. But there's very carefully calculated breakpoints. There's intense math being done on every turn, what you can afford to allow to get through, and how do you preserve your own offense. Who's going to be the first to put their opponent under threat of lethal damage? That's what we really have to look for. And once you are able to cross that gap, you're in a really good spot. And we're almost certain, should Daniel survive this turn and get to the next turn, we'll be able to start doing that to his opponent. I think what Daniel's debating here is a block combination of that Flame Scale Furnace and a 3-block, just stopping the Snatch, taking away a little bit of the oomph in Rob Caton's hand. Could also consider a 2-block combined with Tiger Stripe Shuko as well, and it does look like that's what we're going to see here. Fluster Fist coming down. That is a 3-block, though, so a little bit of an overblock here. Snapdragon Scaler is going to be used. And Daniel knows there is ancestral empowerment in Rob's list, and I think that's exactly why you saw that overblock there. Critical moment for it.
Yeah, really tight play from Daniel Rutkowski there. We can see there is no ancestral empowerment in Rob's hand, but it's something that he needs to worry about. He was talking about this in one of the conversations I was having with him. He's like, a distinct difference in the list is like he has to play around some of these tricks that I could possibly have.
Yeah, and speaking to Matt Rogers before this round, one of the things he mentioned is that if Rob has an edge, it's finding a home for those ancestral empowerments. If Rob is ever able to really turn the course of a turn with ancestral empowerment, that could be his way to victory. Daniel very cleverly identifying his loss case and doing his best to play around it.
You see the Blaze Headlong is going to go ahead
Art
and move
of
into
War
boy.
revealed, and unfortunately, that is not going to go ahead and get scooped up by this Engulfing Flame Wave. It has to be an attack, and that means Art of War is going to rot on the top of Rob's deck. And what does that mean for having stopped that Snatch? Should that Snatch have gotten through, that Art of War would be in Rob Caton's hand right now.
I think if the Snatch gets through here, there's a chance Rob could have threatened lethal.
I agree.
Here this turn, or even maybe found lethal here this turn.
I agree. So excellent.
So close for
Excellent
Rob.
decision making from Daniel Rutkowski thus far.
So Engulfing Flame Wave coming for 5 after this Blaze Headlong. Looks like we're going to finish continue this chain. Looks like the Phoenix Flame's going to come out.
Huge whiff on that engulfing flame wave. You know, just say nothing of the fact that it is a theoretical Art of War that could have been in Rob's hand. Just not getting an attack there really changes the texture of this turn. Could have made an even longer chain link. Is going to go ahead and finish this off with Lava Burst, but that is not lethal, and that means it's up to Daniel. Just flat damage. He says, bring it on. Falls to 4, and now we talked about that critical juncture, Tannen. Who is going to be the first to offer lethal to their opponent? It's Daniel.
A really good spot to find a block with that equipment there as well. Stop the Mask of Momentum trigger, knowing that there's an Art of War on top of the deck as well. You know, maybe set that up in his arsenal for a really, really big turn next turn as well. Possibly if you were to be able to get enough blocks to get through this. A really tight game here. Daniel at 4, Rob at 3, but Daniel's back to serving here. So let's see if he can present lethal a bunch of different ways and force those blocks from Rob.
Yeah, and an interesting point of information for Daniel Rutkowski as we move to this turn, knowing one of the cards in hand is an Art of War. Now, Art of War does have defensive output for sure, but it tends to be better when it needs to make a large block. Should Daniel produce a very wide chain link with a bunch of small attacks, all of which will probably be lethal because Rob is at 3, it becomes harder and harder to get value out of the defensive buff on that Art of War.
Yeah, pretty nice synergy here. Minnow Wisdom's going to go ahead and pay for Belittle, go find another Minnow Wisdom, so
resource rich.
Yeah, lots of resources here for Daniel. You don't like seeing that if you're Rob. That means the full hand is going to be unlocked this turn.
First decision Rob has to make, how to deal with this Belittle.
Yeah, here's the problem. Rob's at 3, so this is a lethal attack. It's the first card you've seen this turn, and you know there's tons more behind this. Yeah, I want to see if Rob can, A, get out of this turn and how many cards he's got left over.
I don't think there's any chance he makes it out with cards in hands, and I think the chances of him making it out of this turn are extremely slim due to that Art of War. It was just the worst possible card that could have been on the top of Rob's deck because, of course, you have to pay for that Art of War, meaning it demands another card from your hand, and you see Rob deeply in the tank looking for a way out because as soon as he does anything other than play that Art of War, he's diminished his defensive output for the turn, but it really isn't a buff either. All you can do is go ahead, pitch, swap one of those cards in hand for hopefully better defensive options, find higher blocks. But I think as the chain link gets wider and wider and wider, it's less effective to have greater defense numbers. You just need more of them. And Art of War fighting against that with all of its being.
Seems like Rob is considering that, doing a lot of counting here. Does have some equipment left over to help him out here, so if he gets out of this turn with a card or 2 in hand, it would probably be on the back of the equipment doing a lot of work here. But it does look like a Lava Vein Loyalty is going to come out and block here.
Yeah, of course, we know Searing Emberblade still to come from Daniel. We know Phoenix Flame still to come. There is that equipment cashed in, a full block.
It's going to go ahead and block for 3 here. Here comes the Searing Emberblade.
Yeah, another 3.
By Mask of Momentum.
Mask of Momentum. Rob falls to 2.
Trying desperately to hold on to these cards in his hand. He knows that's all he's got left for the chance to win this game. So it looks like the Phi ability is going to get activated.
Okay, we're out of cards now.
Yeah, this is big. All right, so here comes Phoenix Flame.
This is only attack for 1. Rob takes it. Okay.
Rob found a line to get himself out of this turn with multiple cards in his hand. That's a big win for him.
Well blocked by Rob, absolutely. And now can he turn that Art of War into an offensive card? Are we looking at 2 cards in hand or 3 cards in hand?
Believe he's still got 3. Okay.
You have to play that Art of War and roll the dice, in my opinion. You just need some kind of substantial output here.
Looks like we're going to start with an attack from Ronin Renegade.
Yeah, Rob disagrees. Got to go ahead and fire off Ronin Renegade to start.
He might be trying to get 3 attacks here. Is he able to go attack into Searing Emberblade?
I could understand that. And maybe that is enough to go ahead and get multiple cards from hand. Look, now Rob going to be the one to present lethal. That means things are going to get sticky for Daniel Rutkowski.
Yeah, this is the part of the match where, at the beginning you see, hey, how much can my hand do? Well, how much can your hand do? There's almost no blocks. This is the part of the match where it gets down to the nitty-gritty, the dirty, getting in the mud. You got to get your nose in there and really scrap.
Yeah.
Because every little point matters here.
Yeah, and there is a world where Rob has actually taken the lead in this match. Should this go ahead, go unblocked, the next 2 attacks should demand cards from hand, meaning Daniel only gets to come back with 2 cards. It depends how effective those 2 cards are, but this is a really decent spot for Rob to go ahead and turn the tempo. It just depends what are those attacks going to be, what is going to be the follow-up to the Searing Emberblade, because if this goes through, we know that Phoenix Flame then demands a block, and that is a uncomfortable position to be in.
Yeah, Daniel in the position that Rob was in last turn, having to go deep into the tank here to figure out the blocks. And for both these players, they're not just thinking about this specific attack. They're thinking about the whole complexity of the turn. That's why you saw the first block take forever for Rob, and then the second and third ones are very fast. He knew exactly how he's going to play out his entire turn. And you're going to see pretty much the same from Daniel here. He's going to have to map everything out into his next turn to try to present lethal against Rob.
Critical block 3 there from Daniel. Of course, Fi sort of skirts the line with the number of block 3s. Flusterfist able to come through full block on the Ronin Renegade, making it maybe possible to ignore something like a Phoenix Flame down the road. Does Daniel feel like he has to block this one as well? I believe the answer is yes. I think the Phoenix Flame is apt to get through here. Prefer to start the next turn at 3 rather than 1 for sure.
Looks like a Command and Conquer going to come out to
another block 3. Very good timing on these block 3s from Daniel Rutkowski. Playing an intro game of Flesh and Blood now. No equipment out there in the arena, all used up. And that means it's going to be the cards that speak for themselves. And it's double strike coming down from Rob. Extremely good at getting wide. Would have been an absolute nightmare for Daniel. But here's the further problem. This is 2 Draconic Chain Links. No more resources. That means no Phoenix Flame follow-up. And Daniel can go ahead, take this double strike, take the next double strike, fall to 2, and a pretty decent hand for Daniel potentially on this clapback.
Yeah, finding a spot where he can actually possibly get into the next turn with some cards in his hand. The most important thing in these is, can you survive with cards in your hand to be able to attack? Because if you ever get to the point where you have to block with the last card in your hand, that is the beginning of the end. You're going to start getting run over by 5.
It really feels like that break point is when the first Phoenix Flame gets blocked. As soon as that happens, you're in the lock. It's very, very hard to come back from that point. And Rob, at 1, is going to have that decision dictated to him on this turn. Any Phoenix Flames will have to be blocked by a full card from hand. Can Daniel Rutkowski find a way to get multiple chain links wide? It looks like it's just going to be Blaze Headlong for 4. This also very important. Going to demand 2 cards from hand from Rob. And that means that Daniel can move through to the next turn with an arsenal. And Daniel playing for the next turn cycle, saying, if I take 2 cards hand, 2 cards here, defend with 2 on the next turn, then I'll finally hit that mythical 3rd chain link, be able to return that Phoenix Flame, get all of your cards from hand, and just snowball the game from there and run away with it. So I would say, again, things have shifted firmly back in Daniel Rutkowski's favor.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw Rob last turn not able to present actual lethal was so important, because now the ball's back in Daniel's court.
Look at this, Tanya. This round's on me is in hand, further complicating this decision a little bit. And if Rob can hit those breakpoints, he needs to hit them a little harder. He needs to go ahead and look for 5 damage. That Blaze Headlong will not have the same effect. Can just go ahead, put 1 card in front of it, fall to 1 for Daniel. Here, though, against Rob, it does demand 2 cards. Or is there some combination of this round's on me that Rob wants to leverage to try and go ahead and get a larger hand on the next turn? That's a really big card to have in this spot. I wonder if there is a combination where Rob thinks that's the play, is comfortable giving Daniel an extra redundant card here, reducing the damage of this Blaze Headlong. Is there a block 3 to go along with it? I see Brand with Cinderclaw. I see Blaze Headlong. I don't quite know what that last card is.
2 Brands.
Yeah, it would have to be a block 3 to get any value out of this round's on me, and it's just not there. Going to be committed to defense here.
Yeah, 2 blue cards as well in hand, so maybe leaving over some of the cards that can actually attack and threaten Daniel's life total here. So Rob finding a line that's going to possibly get some cards out of Daniel's hand as well. Looks like it's going to start with a red Brand with Cinderclaw.
Yeah, this is just very clean. Throw a 3 block in front of this so long as you have it.
Yeah, that Arsenal card going to be so big for Daniel.
Oh, it's huge. It's. I mean, it is everything. It is literally the potential for Daniel to either win the game or just take every single card out of Rob's hand. And again, a critical block 3 for Daniel. Needs a clean block on that one. And this is a totally different Blaze Headlong from Rob, because Daniel can put a block 3 in front of this and fall to 1 and come back on the next turn with 2 cards and an arsenal.
I think this is going to be game deciding here. The fact that he can block with the block 3, that's Assault the Wound too. Not as good this late in the game. Definitely better when you have Mask of the Pouncing links earlier. We can go really, really wide. The value on that is diminished enough. Now we've got 2 cards in hand, a card in arsenal, If these are free attacks, this chain's going to get so big, so fast. That's a Ronin Renegade.
Yep, both players at 1. It is critical both that Rob finds enough block 3s here to go ahead and stay alive.
Yeah, was he able to find it? I think I see the Ancestral Empowerment was drawn a little late in this game.
Yeah,
Okay,
here's
there we
the
go. We've
first
got a block
3.
3. Now we've got a Blaze Headlong. Oh, this is horrible
this
for
is
Rob.
problematic for Rob because this demands 2 cards from hand, and that means that third card, should it be anything over the breakpoint or just a 0-card Draconic, spells doom for Rob. What is the card in Arsenal? It is the Winds of Eternity coming in for 2 that finds a block.
Now,
No
I think that's
go
gonna,
again on that win, so it could have absolutely been the death knell. Still, Daniel Rutkowski took the entire hand there. That means Rob not able to come back with anything, and Daniel gets to take on Rob at 1 with a 4-card hand.
Hey, this is going to be in the same position right here. If Daniel can just find a way to get 3 Draconic Chain Links on the board, that's an automatic win from here. In this looks like we got a block.
It could be even better, Tannen, because there is the possibility of both hitting a break point and going ahead and finding that Phoenix Flame, and there is the Flame Call Awakening, and that is enough, says Rob Caton, goes ahead, extends the fist bump, and Daniel Rutkowski moves on to our semifinals here at the Flesh and Blood World Championships.
One thing I got to point out was the differences in the Mask in that game. You know, we saw Mask of the Pouncing Links do so much extra damage in that one critical turn to kind of gain a lot of tempo and get Rob down to a really low life total. A couple extra cards or some spots where some blocks had to happen to stop Mask of Momentum. The jury's still out on which one you should be playing in there, but that Mask of the Pouncing looked pretty good.
I love the way Daniel played that match. You could tell just so practiced in all aspects of Fi, to say nothing of the Fi Mirror. Absolute master, and is on that redemption path through to the semifinals, setting up that potential showdown down the road.
Yeah, I was about to say, everybody's kind of tracking that. We've got a bunch of other competitors still live in this top 8, but we're all kind of wanting that rematch between Rob and Michael Hamilton. You know, we've seen this happen before in Flesh and Blood. See if it, comes to pass and maybe a different outcome this time.
I will tell you, there are some folks I know not particularly rooting for that matchup. Fuad Omar, Chris Iaali come to mind. They are going to be in our feature match area battling. And, of course, our buddy Matt Rogers stepping in to do content here. And, look, if you didn't have one of the greatest Flesh and Blood players, Matt Rogers, teaming up with one of the greatest esports casters of all time, Doa, on your bingo card for this weekend, I don't blame you, but I am stoked we get to see this combination. Great to see these guys in the booth together.
Yeah, usually when I'm not in the booth, I do watch some of the matches, or I'll walk over and watch some of it. This one, I'm going to be right off to the side where you can't see me. I'm going to be listening just as much as everybody at home, because this is an actual treat that we have for y'all set up for that next match. But as we said, Rutkowski wins this one over Rob Caton. Nothing to be ashamed of. Great tournament for Rob.
Incredible performance from Rob, and a great dude. I hope all of his friends appreciate him, taking him out to dinner and pay him back in the future. Or maybe Rob will just keep winning more and can just keep taking everyone out forever.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go shake his hand, tell him he did a really good job, and he can keep his head high all the way back to the UK, and everybody at home is going to be waiting to welcome him as a hero and a great ambassador of the game here this weekend. But like we said, we're going to be back with that last semifinal in just a moment. That's going to be Gigi Doa and Mr. Matt Rogers in the booth. So we got a treat for y'all, so make sure you don't miss that. We'll be right back with more Flesh and Blood.